everybody. How are you doing today? I'm Wendi Miller, and I'm here with John Miller, and it is Miller time! Woo! So we are going to be doing a segment over the next few weeks, about portability and exactly what portability means for you as a homeowner. However, before we do that, I wanted to go ahead and give a little market update, a little market snapshot of what's been going on in the last 24 hours. So in the last 24 hours, we have 181 new listings, 185 pendings, and then 129 closings. And let me repeat, last 24 hours. That's not the last week, the last 2 days. So the market is doing really good.
What is that, in all of Florida?
No, that's in our market.
Wow.
That's here in our market, not all of Florida.
Numbers.
Yeah, huge numbers. So, yes, this COVID has it kind of thrown us all for a little bit of a loop. Sure, it has. But
we have a chair in between us.
Yeah, exactly. And we did hug, because we haven't seen each other in a while.
My kids are getting more hugs than they ever wanted.
Oh, God, I know. My daughter's so over me because she's a girl. My son, mama's boy, but my daughter, she's just like so over me.
Got it.
And she's 13,
And she's 13.
But, so I think the message here is people still need to sell homes and people still need to buy homes. I am actively looking with buyers right now, and I'm looking in all price range. I have some buyers in the high 100s, some in the mid 2s to 3s, and then I've even got one looking up into the very high 800s, 700s, things like that. So it really shows it's spanning across the different price ranges.
Sure.
So I think that's really positive. The fact that Florida is one of the more open states, I think, is really positive for our real estate market. I don't have stats on this, but I heard that South Carolina was seeing more people move in because it was one of the first states to start opening up.
Interesting.
So it's going to be interesting watching what happens to Florida over the next few months.
I think our demand has stayed steady, but
Yes.
I also anticipate a lot of pent-up demand.
Yes.
And this summer, some point in the summer, I think we're going to have a really nice market.
Right. And I think what's important is that sellers understand this, because our listing is at a history all-time low. Our inventory is so low right now in every price range. So I think what sellers need to understand is if you're thinking about downsizing or upsizing or just maybe wanting to switch to a different area, sort of in the same price range, call me. Or if you have a real estate agent that you already work with, call them. But get some analysis done on what your home could price at, because we need that inventory because there are buyers out there and the interest rates are so low right now.
Amazingly low.
Yes.
I've closed loans since the early 90s, and I just almost giggle at the interest rates I'm seeing these days.
I know.
We discussed prepayment without penalty, and I tell them, call me first, because there's no good reason to prepay this money that's this cheap.
Yeah, exactly. And for those looking to refinance, call me or John. We know some great lenders. We both have some preferred lenders. We both work with a lot of the same preferred lenders in our businesses, because we just work with awesome people because we're Millers and we're awesome.
That's right. Hey, and great segue, because these people that want to sell their home in Florida and move in Florida, we want to teach them today about a way that they can and should save money on their future taxes, right? Portability.
Yes. So this is where we get into that portability. So John, I'm really just kind of the conduit here. I really just kind of want you to go with the portability, explain what the portability is. I think I've been in real estate for a really long time now, about 10, 11 years. So maybe not as long as some others, but I'm getting up there now. And really this year is when I really started hearing about portability, and I feel like I'm just like, oh my gosh, why haven't I known about this for years? Did it not get the attention it needs? This can make a huge difference.
Oh, it's absolutely huge. It really is. So I'll just kick off. Interrupt me anytime you want to.
Okay.
Why is it interesting to you? Because you want to be educated on this subject so that your clients can benefit and save money. We all want to pay the taxes. We don't want to, but we know we have to pay the taxes we have to pay.
Right.
But we don't want people to pay taxes they don't have to pay.
Right.
And you've got a limited 2-year window where portability has to be filed. And it's when you're moving from a home, it's a homestead thing, to a new home in Florida.
So it
It's all
cannot be
Florida.
investment property.
It cannot be investment
Okay.
property. It cannot be involving property in a state other than Florida.
Okay.
But it can go from Pensacola to Key West and Jacksonville, anywhere in between,
Okay.
as long as it is the home of the person who's doing it.
Okay.
So, I want to break it down to how you should think of this subject, because portability it's intense. It's not an easy concept, but I'm going to try to make it as easy as I possibly can in this talk. And then, of course, we're always willing to discuss it with folks more. Interestingly, just this week, I have had 2 people at the closing table ask me, do you know anything about portability and how I can save money? And I didn't really want to learn it either because it's complex, but it's
Right.
constitutional law, and who else is going to?
Right.
So last year I decided I needed to become the expert on it. So it's really, how can you think about it? Portability, 2 words, port. Port is to carry or transport something. So think of, we're going to be moving something from somewhere to somewhere else. And what's ability is the skill, talent, or proficiency to do something. So portability means you can take something and move it somewhere else. In this case, it's a homestead in Florida moving to another homestead in Florida.
Okay.
So it's the ability to easily carry the tax benefit from one homestead to another in Florida. Now, we have to talk about some it's not complex, but it's couple interwoven areas of Florida constitutional law. In 1995, we amended our constitution in Florida with the Save Our Homes Amendment. And really who we were thinking about were the aging population, the folks that have moved here, and they were getting old and they were on a limited income, but now their home was worth a whole lot.
Right.
So we didn't want to tax them so they had to lose their home, move out of a home in their golden years, all right?
Okay.
So what this Save Our Homes Amendment in our Constitution did was limit the annual increases on the assessed value of property with homestead exemption to 3%,
Right.
or the lower of the change in the consumer price index, okay?
Okay.
Or the lower, whichever one of those is lower. Consumer price index is a complex calculation.
I was
Don't
gonna
even
say,
think
yeah.
about it,
I was
right?
gonna say, I don't even know I've ever used that term in my real estate career.
Right.
So I just look at assessed value
It's
because.
calculated annually.
Okay.
So you're either going to get the 3% or that. And some
Okay.
years, the consumer price index is lower. I looked it up. I don't know how to calculate it, but you can
Right.
look it up online.
Okay.
So you'll know which one it is that applies to a
Okay.
particular year.
Okay.
Now remember, this limitation applies only to property value,
Okay.
not the actual taxes themselves, right?
Right.
Taxes are whatever they are, but based on value.
Right.
So it's the value of the property that Save Our Homes
Right.
limitation. And I just think of it as the 3% in my mind,
Right.
knowing that it might be a little
Right.
bit different.
Right.
Okay?
And it doesn't mean it's always going to go up or anything. It could stay the same,
Could.
correct? Because
Yes.
the value is determining
Right.
and it's the assessed value, not the market value.
Right.
Right. So just to explain that, market value is what we would list your home to sell at. That's what the buyers are willing to pay
Yep.
for your home. Assessed value is completely different and always lower.
Absolutely.
Right.
And the assessed value is determined by the county property appraiser's office.
Right.
There are lawyers, and I'm not one of them, who will go down and argue that for you when the appropriate time comes,
Okay.
if you need to.
Okay.
You may be able to resolve it without that.
Okay.
So now we know that we have this wonderful cap on the taxed value of our homes,
Right.
but our fair market value, the value at which an arm's length buyer will pay an arm's length seller the amount of the house, you know that's in Florida, thankfully, usually going up,
Right.
right? We
Yes.
live in a place where our homes accelerate in value, and that's a great
And they're still accelerating to this day, even with COVID.
Yes.
So, yes.
So especially for people that have been in a house a long time, there's going to be a big difference between the amount that their home is assessed and the real fair market value of it.
Okay.
Now, I'm kind of wondering if this would be a good place to stop to continue for next week's program?
I think this probably would, because I think there's a lot of information in here that you're given, and you just really need to be able to absorb it.
Yep.
Because this is a monster of a subject, but it is so important. Because maybe explain it. I guess before we end it, maybe explain the fact, just to kind of tease you for next week.
Yep.
But you can take the difference.
Yeah. Florida homeowner, we're going to take that benefit and port it to your next home. So tune in and we'll tell you more about that.
Exactly.
And more constitutional amendments to boot.
Yes. Thank you, John, so much.
It's Miller time.
It's Miller time. Thanks, everybody, for joining. Have a blessed week. Bye-bye.